Hello there! In this lesson, we'll be creating this portrait with graphite pencils. We'll be using some pretty cool techniques, so let's get into it. To create this project, you will need an A3 sketch pad, an 8-piece drawing set, an electric eraser, and a ruler. To do the background, we'll also be using a hobby knife and a tissue. In this lesson, we'll mainly be using the circle rendering technique. To do this, you create a series of small, continuous circles to create a consistent tone. We then build up more tone to darken the areas that are in shadow. This way, you have a lot of control over balancing out the rendering, and a tonal transition can be easily created. It also provides the coat with a bit of texture as well. The coat of graphite can then be gently blended with your finger. This creates a softer and more consistent finish. For this project, we have supplied a black and white high-res image that you can find on our website, and we have supplied another one with a grid over it also. For creating the outline, we can't really transfer or trace the image onto the page, as it creates furrows in the paper that will stand out as graphite won't cover these furrows. So we draw it up directly using the grid system. So the first step is to create a grid over the page. My lines are a little darker here so they can be seen in camera, but it is important to make sure any grid line work is very light, as it has to be removed. Use a HB pencil for this. Once the lines have been drawn up, lightly draw in the outline of the bride. Again, make the lines relatively light. At this stage, we also add in any shadow boundary lines. These lines will remind us of how far to take the shadow and where to put the highlights in. For our bride's veil, we just draw in the lines where the white highlights will be. The rule of thumb for shading with graphite is to generally start with the lighter tones and work up the tones to the darker ones. However, it is a good idea to establish some key dark tones early on. So I lay in the eyelashes and eyebrows with an 8B pencil, and then start to gently lay in the tone of the face with the 2B pencil. Graphite pencils are measured from 2H to 8B. H stands for hard and B stands for black. The lead or strip inside a graphic pencil is made up of graphite and clay compressed together. The ratio of clay to graphite in the strip governs how dark the tone is. Hard pencils have less graphite and more clay, and the B pencils have less clay and more graphite. The 8B pencil is virtually pure graphite, so it is very soft and almost black. Pay close attention to the reference photo and build up the areas of dark tone where it is needed. Areas like the top of the nostril, the bridge of the nose, the shadow on the bottom lip cast from the top lip, areas under the eyes, and the top of the chin. Because the light is emitting from the right-hand side, the left side of the face is in deep shadow. This can be laid in with the 8B pencil. Take this tone up and create the hair. Follow the form with the strokes. Although our bride here has very dark hair and the tone will be blocked in, this will help to suggest the direction of the hair through texture. There is an area of highlight at the front of the hair, and this can be left free of tone. The hair is visible below the chin, and this can be suggested with long strokes in the appropriate direction. The shoulder can then be shaded. This is a round shape and the highlight is transitioned into dark tone to suggest this. The veil is a sheer fabric, so the tones on top of it will be quite subtle. I lay these tones in with a HB pencil. Because the fabric is sheer, obviously you can see through it, but the tones will be lighter because they are diffused. So follow the form of our bride, but make the tones a few shades lighter. When shading the fabric, it is also important to pay close attention to the reference image and shade what you see, and just keep balancing out the tones. It is a good practice to lay a clean sheet of paper over any finished areas so you can lay your hand on the paper to avoid smudging your work. Any areas of flat tone can be softened with your finger. Once the bride is finished, we can add tone into the background. This step is optional, but if you would like to create a nice smoky background, this is a pretty easy way to do it. Use the 8B pencil and scrape the end with a hobby knife to create graphite powder into the area we wish to add tone to. Then rub the graphite powder into the surface of the paper. Use the tip of your finger and very gently rub it with circular motions. Once the graphite has been applied, use a tissue to give it a final smoothing. The last step is to redefine any highlights with that electric eraser. Well, thanks for watching. We hope you picked up something you can use with your art. Stay tuned because we have a lot of great lessons coming up. And remember, stay creative.